If you're a high achieving professional woman, as you're stepping into retirement, are you feeling a lot of anxiety as to who am I? Are you not ready for this next chapter of life because you just don't know who you're going to be in retirement? Hi, I'm Julianne Price with Life Edit and Design, and I can help you cross that transition so that you move into retirement not with a coping attitude of, I don't know who I am, but I'll just deal. Instead, I want you to move into retirement as the thriving. I get to decide who I'm going to be in retirement. There's so much joy to be found. And for that, for you out there who are feeling anxious about this next chapter of life, I want you to know that this is a beautiful celebration of who you can become. You can be intentional about this next chapter. So let's dive into a little bit about that anxiety, where it's coming from, and some clues as to how you can navigate this major identity shift. So first off, I want you to know that you're okay where you are. No one emotionally prepared you for what's coming, right? That identity shift is not something that somebody sat you down and gave you a seminar and said, you're going to need to reinvent yourself in retirement, right? That wasn't lacking. That wasn't showing up in that seminar, right? They talked about the money and how to make sure that you could pay your bills and how to save for retirement. But nobody talked so much about the mental shift, the emotional shift that you need to be ready to take on as you move into this loss of who am I without my job? And there's so much beauty here for you. So I hope that you can relax into this video and really hear what I have to say for you. So first off, what are you going to do now that you've moved into retirement? What is that identity that you're losing? For so many of us, especially I know for me, it was this feeling of superwoman. It was the feeling of I was the one who you gave projects because you knew I would get it done. And it was that sense of accomplishment, but it was also the recognition from my peers and the status that it brought as knowing that I was the one who could carry something over the finish line. Even if I didn't know what the project was and I wasn't an expert in the project, I knew how to rally people to get that project completed. And so now you're sitting here on the other side going, where's the applause? Where's the recognition? And even if you weren't like a spotlight person, like I'm certainly not the celebrity type who wants to have all the focus on me. I actually hate that. But it was still that sense of accomplishment, the sense of being recognized for what I was capable of. And as you move into this next act, there's not that external recognition anymore. It has to actually come from the inside. It's an inside job. And emotionally, you're just not ready to understand that because you just haven't experienced it yet. All the cheerleading, all the recognition comes from inside. And that's why people, when they move into retirement, they think, oh, I don't need a planner anymore. I'm not structured anymore. I don't need a schedule anymore. And actually, if you watch my last video, I talked all about why you do need structure in retirement. But another one of those reasons is so that you can have this internal scorecard. You need to track your progress. You need a planner that says, here's what I'm going to be doing. And then a scorecard to say, how well am I doing in these things? That's where the applause comes from. It's inside now. And it's a beautiful thing because you get to control how much recognition, how much applause you give yourself. And that's something that we women are not used to doing. We're not used to patting our own backs. We look at outside for a reflection of how we're doing. Now it's an inside job, and that's why you need that planner. And there's three major areas that I want you to consider as you're moving into retirement. Where am I going to get my sense of purpose? Where am I going to have some meaning in my life? And the first one is the one that everyone thinks of. It's volunteering, right? How are you going to spend some time in your community giving back? And it's a beautiful thing. And I did that. I've still very, very active in my library. And I tried a lot of things on. I tried on the Red Cross. It wasn't a great fit for me. I actually do a Mahjong group. So I volunteer and run a Mahjong group. And that's a great fit for me. So you're going to try different things to see what fits. And because something doesn't fit doesn't mean it's a failure. It doesn't mean, oh, you've lost your superwoman vibe. It just means it wasn't the right fit. And you get the chance to intentionally design who you're going to be in this identity. Now, my one caution for you with volunteering is because you're a high achieving woman, because you know how to get things done, you might tend to overdo it in the volunteering section. And that's what I did. So I can speak from experience here. You give so much because you're used to giving so much. And part of your identity is the woman who can get it done. And in the volunteering world, it's great because like twice I've won the Volunteer of the Year award. And I was like, yes, there's that recognition that I needed. But what I made a problem for everybody else around me was I was hard to live up to. I was a hard act to follow because other people weren't as driven as me or didn't want to give that much time. And that's nothing wrong with that. It's just I was overdoing it as a volunteer. And I do caution that for you. As you move into this next act, you want to give, right? You've got skills and you want to give them. And so I caution you on the volunteering aspect to be, don't make yourself hard to replace, because a good volunteer is very hard to come by. And when you excel, you make it hard for the next person. So I was the president of my friends group, and I realized I was making it hard for someone else to be interested in the role because they saw how much I was giving and they're like, whoa, that's more than I want to do. And so I made it hard for the next person to step up. So I had to actually pull back and do less volunteering, even though it felt very against the grain for me. I had to realize that for the good of the organization, I had to become somebody that took a less of a role, because I don't want to create a void when I leave and all of a sudden there's this vacuum of nobody being able to do what I did. I had to make it my job simpler, give less, so that I could be a next act to follow. So volunteering is one of the roles you could take on. But the other roles I urge you to consider is, next one is mentorship. How can you help the next generation? You have so much knowledge, and it doesn't have to strictly be in the career you did. So I was a meeting planner. I don't have to go out and help people strictly with meeting planning, but I can help people with the skills I've developed, help them think about planning other things, project planning, life planning, and that's actually what I'm doing. But how do you help that next generation with some of the skills that you have, so that they can avoid some of the pitfalls, or when they have those pitfalls, they can recover faster. I learned so much from my mistakes. I actually have a plaque downstairs that says, I learned so much from my mistakes, I'm planning on making a bunch more. And that's so, as the mentor, you can help work their way through the stumbles and the challenges that they're going to have. Challenges are a good thing, helping them reframe that challenges are a part of growth and necessary. To be that mentor there, now you can give a lot. So where volunteering, I told you to pull back a little bit. On mentorship, you can really give a lot, because this is you one-on-one working with somebody to help them have a better experience of life, and to find the success and to redefine success in a way that's healthier than maybe you and I experienced. So mentorship is a great angle. And then the third angle, which I want to open your eyes to, is entrepreneurship. How can you create a new identity about something that you're passionate about, or some problem you want to solve? I did a whole video again about structure, and I talked about problem solving. So what is it, something you want to build a business around? You have so many skills, and you may not have had your own business before. And now it's an opportunity for you to really challenge yourself. I find that entrepreneurship is never ending list of things to learn. And I'm sorry if you hear the dog in the background, but there's marketing to learn, there's website and graphic design to learn, and there's video. This is something I never had to do in my career, was produce videos and learn how to talk on camera. There's so many skills that you get to challenge yourself with when you move into an entrepreneurial role. So you could take something passionate, some kind of creative endeavor. Maybe it's creating actual physical products like knitting, or making soap, or skincare products. There's so many things. The sky's the limit on what you can create. Then it's learning all the other aspects that go with that. It's not just the creation of a product of some sort, but all the marketing and the networking. So if you were somebody who thrived on networking, if you're one of my social people, my connectors who really like to be out and working with people, learning the skills on how to market is a beautiful way to move into your next chapter and still get to be out there networking with people. Now you have a new purpose, a new identity. You're the person who runs this business. You're now a CEO of something that you created. So you get to have it be as complex or as simple as you'd like, but you're in charge, and that's a whole new way to have an identity. So those are the three main areas where you can now shift your identity: volunteering, mentorship, or entrepreneurship. And you can dabble in all three. That's what I do. I have a bit of each in my life here. And it's beautiful, and I make that mix. And if you don't know your archetypes, there's a quiz down below that you can take that will help you determine what is that mix that you need. How much volunteering do you need? How much mentorship do you need? And do you have the right mindset for an entrepreneur? I have a lot of ruler in me. The ruler archetype wants to get things done. I'm driven. So giving me a big project. So I take my planner skills, my professional planner skills, and I get to turn that into a project and create project after project. And I know for me, I know what energizes me. Part of that quiz is also an energy audit. What energizes me and what de-energizes me. And so I built a business around the things that energize me. This is great. So entrepreneurship is something I really hope that you will consider in this second act. Is how do you want to give back through a business? How do you want to get paid? That's a big thing as we're moving into the second act. Is what's my compensation? How am I rewarded? What's my paycheck in this next act? And that's part of what you're trying to figure out. That's that part of that emotional and identity shift, is how do I get compensated for what I now want to give? And that could be just in new relationships, but it could also be in dollars. How do you want to get paid in retirement? Do you want that fulfillment, that feeling of, oh, I just mastered this new skill? Do you want to overcome fears? Maybe your paycheck is tackling those big fears. I have a fear, I hate flying. And so it's held me back from traveling. And now I'm like, this is something I can overcome. And that's the reward, is being able to say, I'm no longer afraid of flying. And I'm not there yet, but I'm working at it. So that's another way that I can pay myself, is to conquer those fears. And that's why I really recommend that you have a journal and a planner, so that you can, number one, reflect on what are some of the things that this identity shift is creating in you, what's coming up for you, and then creating plans on how you want to thrive, how you want to move past fears, how you want to be compensated. That comes out in your planner. It's such a cool thing. You can still be Superwoman in a whole different way. You can keep some of the old identities that you really enjoyed, let go of some of those ones that were just kind of a problem for you, and not feel anxious. As you move into retirement, you can instead feel excited, curious, passionate. Like, you get to reinvent. And that is a beautiful thing. Not everyone gets to do this. Not everyone gets to have a retirement where they're healthy. They're not forced into retirement. And another thing that I want to point out is that you don't necessarily have role models. So if you're feeling like, oh, I'm moving into retirement, I don't know what to do, it's because no one really sat down with you and said, here's all the great role models of second act people. So when you're looking for that now, look for celebrities, look for athletes. What are they doing after the spotlight career is over with? What are they doing now? How are they giving back? How are they mentoring and contributing? What other businesses have they started? Just to give yourself that inspiration. The role models are out there. They're just not so much in the spotlight. So you don't see them the way that you see them when they're in their first act, but they're there. And you just need to do a little research, and you can find them. You can find their social media pages to find out, what are they doing now in their second act? And let that be an inspiration to you to say, life is not over when the first act ends and the curtain closes on that. Life is not over. It doesn't mean you become this lady of leisure who just takes care of kids. And I find that many women who don't have a plan when they move into their second act, and they're not emotionally prepared for the identity shift, allow other people to shape their identity for them. And that's where I see the people become caregivers, either for grandchildren or for older adults. And if you're one of my nurturers, this is a natural progression for you. And that's great. That's what the archetypes will help clue you in on. But if you're not a nurturer type, then this is not the right transition for you, to let other people put you into that role where you're now taking care of your grandkids on a regular basis or every day, or you're sandwiched between taking care of your elder parents and the grandkids, and you're going back and forth. And you become a nurturer when it's not your natural archetype. That's not a healthy transition for you. That's not a healthy identity shift. But if you're passive, if you move into retirement without any plan, you're going to let other people dictate your identity, and that is not healthy for you, and that does not create a beautiful and loving and joyful retirement. That makes you start to resent the people on either side of you, pressuring you to do things that take over your life and prevent you from traveling, if that's what you want to do, or prevent you from growing a new business, or prevent you from meeting new people. Like, please don't let that happen to you. I hope that you take an active role. This is your second act. It doesn't mean it's a passive thing. You have to take control, step into it, and become the person that you desire to be. You have to find those passions and the purpose that you create. That's what intentional life design is. It's not something that belongs to the young people. It's actually more for the people who are ready for this next act that says, okay, I've raised the little people, I've done the responsible stuff. Now it's time for me. It's time for you to shine and really develop who you're going to be in this next act. And it takes emotional preparedness. It takes some structure. So watch that other video on structure if you don't know about that. And it takes drive and energy, and I'm here to help you. I will help you be accountable. I'll help you shape the plan, that blueprint. That's what this whole quiz is about, is creating a blueprint, and then giving you some accountability and some being that mentor to help you find, how do you navigate this next act so that you create a new identity that you fall in love with, and that you're compensated in the way that you want to be compensated with in this next act. All right, we'll see you soon.